So welcome back to another episode of Am I the Antagonist? And am I the antagonist for saying a lap dance doesn't count as cheating? So I want to make sure that you subscribe down below with the notifications on, so twice a day DecoyNoise can start fast forwarding your boring things with more live Reddit commentary just like this one, including stories that were so bad that the moderators had to delete the situation because it was just getting too out of hand. I was actually able to dig up the original story, so let's go ahead and just hear OP out right now. So OP writes, "Trust me, I know how this sounds, but hear me out. When I, a 30-year-old female, was in college, I worked at a co-ed strip club. The money was incredible and helped me pay off my student loans faster than the minimum wage ever could, so I have no regrets about it. After I graduated, I got a good job at an accounting firm, and that's how I met my husband, a 34-year-old male. We've been married for 3 years. My husband knows all about my old job, and some of my best friends are people I work with there who he also gets along with. One of these friends was, let's call him Henry, a 29-year-old male, is probably my closest friend, besides my high school BFF. He moved in our guest room about 4 months ago because his boyfriend kicked him out of his house, and we agreed to let him stay and save up for his own place. For obvious reasons, he's been laid off from his job and has been doing online side projects, but he still pays rent and cooks, so I'm fine with him. My husband was also fine with him until last weekend. My husband decided to go back and get some much-needed yard work done, while Henry and I hung out in the basement playing pool and drinking wine. We started getting pretty tipsy, so we put on some of our favorite songs from our old work and started reminiscing about old times. We were both getting back into our groove, laughing and dancing, and that's when I thought it would be fun to give Henry a lap dance to see if I still got it. Apparently, my husband went to knock on the basement window to tell us to turn the music down and saw the lap dance, and he went completely berserk. He tried to kick Henry out, but I told him both of our names are on the house, and I get a say too. He told me he's never felt so betrayed in our whole relationship, and now he'll barely speak to me. He's been locking himself in our office and air mattress with the dog 24/7 since, only coming out for food, the bathroom, or walks. I keep telling him that he's being ridiculous because Henry is gay, for crying out loud, but he says he won't stop until Henry leaves, and there's something wrong with me if I can't understand why he's angry. I'm pretty confident I was in the right, but he's still fuming, so now I'm second guessing myself. Am I the antagonist here? So like we always do, we take these situations, we throw them in Decoy Court, which is basically my knee-jerk reaction to this situation. I'll read over some of the top comments down below, go over the more fun, controversial comments. I'll read your comments in the Decoy Koi Pond that is a comment section on the channel, and then also we'll do some Decoy Deliberation, figure out who the true antagonist is, and make up some theoretical punishment for said antagonist. Now, that being said, with this situation, I just kind of want to see this from the perspective of how many times has OP given a lap dance since she's been married to the husband? And it's never mentioned in the story explicitly, so we think that it would strengthen her case if she was like, oh yeah, I've been doing it and he's been fine with it. So since it's not mentioned, let's just assume it was 0. Now, the idea that she's already kind of hedging it by saying, hey, it's because we got drunk, which means that on some level she knows it's wrong because she's deferring the blame on, hey, I was tipsy, and bringing that up. And then, so we just added up saying the rationale is you're drunk, your friend Henry is gay, so it doesn't count. Inferring that because Henry's gay, the scenario would never progress beyond the lap dance, which is a fair assessment, but just some people see, okay, if my wife sleeps with somebody else, that's cheating. Some people think kissing's cheating. Some people think a peck on the cheek of your ex-girlfriend, that's cheating. And, you know, texting is cheating. So all the way down the line, there's competing levels of what's permissible in an exclusive relationship. Now, obviously, for the husband here, he's saying that giving a sexually suggestive dance while drunk in his basement is his firm line that you can't cross. And I like how OP starts the story with, what was it? They say, oh yeah, I know this sounds bad, but then ends the story with, I can't understand why he's angry. Like, I know this sounds bad, but I don't get it. Why is he angry? It's like, the judgment obviously here has got to be, you're the antagonist. You're the biggest antagonist we've seen here in a while, because it's just because OP has plenty of years in college to completely disconnect yourself from what a lap dance means, from like, it's not sexual desire, it's just a part-time job. Doesn't mean the husband has had that time to perceive, you know, that situation from your very specific lens. Like, it's bad enough he sees his wife, you know, simulating sexual activity with another man. Now his wife is standing up for that other man, claiming she has a right to, like, you know, do it because her name's on the deed, and also refusing to identify that he's justifiably angry at the situation. At no point in time did this channel ever say, like, okay, yeah, it's negative, like, you know, the lap dance, they shouldn't be happening. It's just saying that he's obviously, she knows that he can be mad. He knows he can get mad, but she's trying to figure out a way that, hey, is there some way that I can phrase this where he can't get mad anymore? Because I know this is wrong, but let me figure out a way that I can just justify it. So if you have that magical phrase, or just not even magical phrase, but just other logic that I'm not seeing, before you see the top comments, earn yourself that Decoy coin by giving me your thoughts. Take a brief break, let me know what you're thinking, and then we'll go ahead and get to those top comments, because obviously people were getting angry. Yeah, I guess the moderator came through and deleted the post, but the top comment was, "You're the antagonist. It doesn't matter that Henry's gay. You definitely crossed the line. Edit, thanks for the award, kind stranger." Okay, and the next reply was, "Alright, gonna try to explain here, but just because Henry's gay doesn't mean that you can't have feelings for Henry. You are not gay, and you are acting sexually towards Henry. Just because someone is gay isn't a pass, and it means that you could rub yourself all over them. Just like it wouldn't be okay if you made out with Henry or slept with Henry. You weren't being paid for this lap dance. You chose to do it for fun, which means you were enjoying doing something sexual with another man who is a friend and lives in your house. If you wanted to practice your lap dancing, I'm sure your husband would be happy to provide a lap." And that's the thing is, yes, I understand why she wouldn't particularly probably want to share that moment with the husband. It's just like maybe he's a prude, maybe he's like, lap dance connoisseur, who knows? But it was just like, something that she shared with this guy Henry, where they both worked there and they're having a blast in the past. Everybody likes to do that at some point in time, but just the idea that just because you have some sort of specific rationale as to how you got to that point doesn't mean that, okay, now it's justifiable. Just, this is very true. Just the idea that it's like, okay, you weren't getting paid, so at some level, you enjoyed giving a lap dance to your friend Henry, and that's the only thing he's gonna see. Oftentimes you see these stories where it's like, yeah, there could have been other, factors that mitigate the situation, like, oh, well, I guess if she was getting paid for the lap dance, it wouldn't make it better, it would probably make it worse. But just the idea where it's just like, okay, I'm trying to figure out a way to make this better. But no matter what they said after him seeing the lap dance happening, nothing was going to change his mind. Like his lizard brain shut down, like, oh my god, like, why is my wife doing this? And then he's betrayed, so there's no new information going in. So it's like, yes, you're doing wrong, he knows you're doing wrong, it's time to apologize. But let's go ahead and get to that next top comment, which is, everybody's getting rewards over here. So this person says, "You're the antagonist. Just because it's quote-unquote not cheating doesn't mean it's unreasonable for him to be upset, and your response to his distress is pretty awful. Try to get in his mindset. He leaves his house, looks in the window, sees his drunk wife giving a lap dance to her old friend who he's letting stay in his house. He absolutely has a right to not be comfortable with that. You responded to his discomfort by saying that you weren't going to allow him to kick him out, the guy that you just gave a lap dance to, in his own home. You're not on his side, you're on his friend's side, you're on your friend's side, and you're not respecting the feelings of betrayal." And that's the thing is, like, you just doubled down on it, like, hey, you don't like it? Well, too bad. We'll deal with it. Why won't he deal with it? Like, it's a situation like, yes, of course this is going to be his reaction. If you're doing something wrong and he doesn't, it's like, why are you digging that hole? Stop digging that hole. It's like, well, I'm going to keep on digging it. What are you going to do? Why are you mad that I'm digging this hole? But I keep on saying the same phrase in different ways. But let's go ahead and go to the next top reply, which is, "This is right." Okay, so yeah, it's going to be just more people like clapping for this person. And the next top reply was, "You're the antagonist. Look, I'm poly. In my relationship, straight up effing another person isn't cheating as long as it happens within the bounds of the rules and expectations of me and my partners have agreed upon." And that right there is a critical point. It's down to the agreement and the feelings of both partners in the relationship. And personally, I always err on the side of that the limit gets set by the partner with the least desire of openness. Example, me and my primary have an agreement that neither of us pursues anyone in the artistic industry he's in, as it's a close-knit community that already blurs the lines between friends and business partners, and throwing intimate adult scenarios into the mix is just a recipe for disaster. If I could F one of my D&D buddies, and that would be fine, but if I were to sleep with one of the people he gigs with, that would be cheating. So the vast majority of people, lap dancing is sexual. To you, it was a job and an art form, but to your patrons, it was absolutely sexual, and that's the whole reason for them to go do it. It's to be sexually titillated. Now, to you, personally, dancing on Henry's lap was not sexual because he's gay and you're not attracted to him, but you don't get to decide your husband's comfort levels there. And in his mind, you have betrayed his trust and you refuse to respect his feelings on the matter. If your husband considers lap dances a form of cheating, then lap dances aren't something you get to do for people other than your husband without it being cheating. Not with the husband you married, at least. And that's the idea I always try to say, like, competing levels of comfortability and values where it's just, there's no absolute right and absolute wrong. It's just what's right to the person and what they're comfortable with. Just because maybe he's the most insecure dude and everything makes him uncomfortable doesn't mean that, like, okay, yeah, we get to just discard what you feel is cool and what's not cool because I don't agree with you. It's just like, hey, if you married that person, you agreed to live within the confines of that person's, like, their comfortability parameters. And the idea that over here, it's just, This person, I love it when we get someone that's very close to the scenario that kind of gives their input on it, because this person is a polyamorous where they don't care if their significant other is like sleeping with other people. Now, I personally don't understand like how that situation works, but just the idea that it makes sense where they say, okay, cool, we can do this as long as we communicate very clearly as to what's permissible, what's not permissible. And she's just saying like, hey, look, she's the opposite of this. Like this person that is polyamorous is even like, you know, raising their brow at them saying, hey, look, you don't, what you think is cheating on other people all the time, but you were just don't even care about the person's feelings. Like this is you're on a whole nother level of just betrayal, and then the idea that it's like, you know, just keeps on doubling down. But let's go ahead and read a reply to that post, which is exactly, she's refusing to see in the post and comments that her issue is disregarding his boundaries, not the act itself necessarily. And I feel like a lot of people get hinged on that. It's like, I'm justified, I can justify it, not seeing the context, because the context is everything. Especially in this situation where it's just, you keep on compounding the situation with something worse, where it's like, okay, it's his house, it's his friend, they're getting drunk in my basement, like, and now she's defending him over her. Now she's throwing the deed in my face because of the house. Like, it's all just snowballing into a much, much worse situation. But like I always say, top comments for perspective, which we did get a lot of good perspective, but let's go ahead and read some controversial comments, because maybe it'll give us different perspective, or we'll see what the scenario is. So the top controversial comment was, that also got gold, was saying, I'm actually gonna say no antagonist here. I mean, honestly, as a woman, I would reasonably assume that giving or receiving a lap dance with a gay man wouldn't cross boundaries for most partners. However, we all have different views and boundaries, and your husband is clearly more conservative. I would not be upset if I was in his shoes, but I could understand how others might feel differently. Once you found out his reaction, you should have apologized. Edit. Surprisingly, by how many you're the antagonist votes, people out here are really insecure. And that's the thing, is you don't get to judge somebody's insecurity level and say that's right and that's wrong, that's right, that's wrong. Like, don't go, let's grab our pitchforks because that person's insecure about a particular thing. It's like, I'm sure if someone grew up in, like, turned 21, moved to Vegas, and just grew up around strip clubs and was totally desensitized to the fact that, hey, strippers don't love you, strippers are making money and they don't care. What if you had someone that was like in, I don't know, some state that's just very conservative and no strip clubs, no drinking or no anything like that, and all of a sudden they saw it? That would be the most like overtly sexual act ever. So just because they're from somewhere different than you are means they're insecure, and I'm surprised on how many people are insecure here. Like, how judgmental is that to say, you have a different background of me, you're wrong, I'm right, pack it up, pitchforks, let's go. Like, no, that's not the way we should do it. But let's go ahead and read another top controversial reply, which is, no antagonist here, you have different boundaries, you crossed his, you should apologize. And that's the thing, is they're saying no antagonist here because, you know, you crossed different boundaries, but I think that it's the idea that there would be no antagonist here if she did the lap dance, he's like, what the heck, get out of here, and she apologized, like, I'm sorry, here, let me hear, why don't you think that's okay? You know he's gay, right? Like, we're not doing anything, we worked together, we're just, you know, living all good times. I'm sorry that we were having a moment of just reminiscing during this very difficult situation. Here, let's discuss this, let's sit them down. Okay, we're both gonna apologize, we did not mean any offense to it, and just kind of being hat in hand and being like, oh my god, I didn't realize you'd get this angry. But she didn't do that. She just turned around and said like, no. Like, I'm sick and tired of you being insecure, how dare you have these feelings about my old job, are you judging me as a person? My name's on the lease. Like, no, it just, that's where you became the antagonist, not the act itself. You became the antagonist when you started being an antagonist. You started being mean to him because he was sad. Like, that's totally the wrong direction. But let's go ahead and read the next controversial reply, which is, no antagonist here. Husband is overreacting on his own insecurities, and maybe OP wasn't gentle in her response, but I think she's right to not let the husband kick out Henry. They're old stripping buddies. I do not see the harm in a little nostalgic lap dance. Also, wouldn't expect this to fall outside regular boundaries, and in this case, doesn't seem like any such boundary was discussed beforehand. OP, hope your husband calms down a bit. And the thing is, though, is they're never going to get to the point where husband calms down until she starts to identify and take empathy with what he's going through. If she just keeps on doubling down, the wager she has against him ever, like, getting over it is going to be so high that they're going to lose the house, they're going to divorce, it's going to be a whole situation. And we're seeing a lot of the divide is either people that are comfortable with lap dances and people that are not comfortable with lap dances. And just because OP used to be one, the bold buddy is one, they're totally comfortable with the situation being separated from actual sexual desire, doesn't mean that we get to pile on them and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. That's ridiculous to me. But let's go ahead and read more controversial replies, because hopefully we get some different perspective over here. So the next person writes, not the antagonist. I don't know why people are freaking out about this. He's gay and they were goofing around. So many friends act like this. I see absolutely no issue with this and I'm shocked by other people's responses. Communication is key in a relationship. You have to hear him out, but it looks like he's not letting you in to even talk about it. And okay, valid point. The idea that maybe he just said, get out, and no, I'm not talking, get out. And then they haven't had time to talk about it. But I guess it's one of those situations where as both groups are like starting to posture up and starting to get in a fight, it's like nobody was sitting there like, hey, okay, simmer down, let's talk. Nobody was like, simmer down, let's talk. Everybody was like, no, I'm getting my pitchfork. Well, I'm getting my torch. And then now they're going to battle. Now it's like, you know, nobody was trying to mitigate the situation, which unfortunately, you never want to say you gotta be the bigger person, but the person that violated the situation, the person that, like, you know, tipped off the situation where OP identifies, hey, I know this sounds bad, but hear me out. That's probably the person that needs to be the first one to go from a fist to like, hey, okay, calm down. What's going on? That's kind of coming out on them. If OP wants to get this to kind of simmer down, she's got to step up, in my opinion. But like always, let me know down below if you think that I'm wrong, and then maybe OP's wrong, or whatever the situation may be, and why I'm getting this completely wrong. Let me know in the comments down below. Earn yourself that Decoy coin. But if nothing else, I just appreciate you for hanging out with me, spending my furlough, or just, you know, let me talk these things out and make me feel a little bit less alone. Subscribe down below with the notifications on, because I do hear that you could be subscribed to me and just never see my videos in the feed. And also visit DecoyNoise.com to give me, you know, feedback on surveys, and also maybe submit your own story, because we are going to do a video that is just stories from the Decoy Koi Pond. If nothing else, put this on autoplay and watch the next Decoy Noise coming up next.